Welcome back to Ravenous Babble. My name is Dan, and it's been a hot minute since we last spoke. Today, I'll be babbling on about everything that's happened over the last month to make up for lost time. Now about my absence. Life has been pretty hectic the last month. My job moved locations, so I was caught between either having to commute twice as far or finding a new gig, and long story short, I ended up choosing to commute, at least for now, until I find something better. Finances have also been a little tight, which kind of rolls back to the job discussion, and honestly, I think I was just doing too much. I just had too much on my plate. I would be going to 2 armories a week and attempt to make it out to our Social Saturdays event to teach new players, and I'd also have Dungeons & Dragons every Sunday. So, needless to say, the stress and desire of wanting to produce content on a weekly basis became very taxing, and I just needed to step away and reevaluate how much time I'd been dedicating to Flesh and Blood as a whole. With that being said, it does pain me to say that instead of 1 video a week being my goal, it will now be 1 video a month. Now, that's not to say that I won't be putting out more than 1 video a month, but rather that I'll have less to worry about and I'll be less stressed about producing content constantly, and that way I can continue to enjoy producing content and feel good about what I'm producing, while at the same time leaving the doors open for me to produce more than 1 video a month. And to follow that up, I want to be clear that I'll still be doing my monthly Patreon rewards. I enjoy making the tokens that I give out, and it doesn't take up a lot of time either, so those are going to keep on coming. All that aside, let's get into some Flesh and Blood news. We've got a lot to talk about. So the post Dusk Till Dawn Living Legend update happened. Briar and Rosetta Thorn are finally out of the CC format. Charles Dunn had a huge victory at US Nationals on what I've just been calling the Jolly Green Giant, which is pretty much just the Guardian version of Briar. A ton of 7 attacks where you just want to land the on hit to get your embodiment of Earth, block very efficiently, and just continue to pressure your opponent and eventually fatigue them or just beat them out. They also changed how many points are awarded for heroes who win events to accommodate for the increased number of heroes that are going to be introduced in the next year. So things like ProQuest, Road to Nationals, and Pro Tour Invitational events or PTI events will now award 4 points per event win. And skirmishes will now award 2 points again. They were 2 before, I believe they got knocked down to 1, they're back up to 2. Bullseye Bracers got changed from banned to suspended until Lexi hits Living Legend, which is great news for all the Riptide and Azalea players out there. Speaking of Lexi is at a whopping 926 Living Legend points, and more than likely will be leaving the Classic Constructed format before the World Championships this year. And that's partly due to the fact that she's as popular as she is, as powerful as she is, and the fact that Pro Quests are now going to give 4 points instead of 2, and Pro Quest season's coming up. The next time they'll be doing a Living Legend check is on November 6, 2023, and that's 10 days before the World Championship. So things are going to get really interesting. Now, in addition to this Living Legend update, they also changed some formats. Commoner and UPF will now follow the Blitz construction rules, meaning that you can have a 52 card deck plus your hero, but players must present exactly 40 cards when they go to play. So now there's sideboards in every format. Whether you choose for it to just be equipment or cards to help with your matchup, that's up to you, but the option is there. In addition to the aforementioned changes, Living Legend is stated to have its debut at the World Championships in the form of the Sunday Battle Hardened event. There isn't much known about this format yet, outside of speculation and bits that we've heard in interviews, but it seems like it'll just be a no-holds-barred with adult heroes, having no ban cards, at least at the start of the format. They did say that they would revisit that concept before big events like Callings, if there is going to be a Living Legend calling and such next year, but we'll see what happens. As of right now, the format hasn't even technically been announced, so take that for what you will. Alright, let's talk about this upcoming weekend. We've got the Bright Lights pre-release coming up, and The Round the Table product, made in collaboration with Brian at Tolarian Community College, also known as the Professor, comes out this Friday. The Round the Table product looks like it came out well. While I don't have it on hand, I have seen a few unboxing videos of it, and it looks good. The playmat quality, from what I've heard, is actually a little bit better than Armory playmats, and the box seems to look really nice, so there's that. Not to mention that all of the decks have 2-ofs, outside of the equipment packages and the heroes themselves. So if you're looking to get these cards for Blitz or UPF or even Commoner, you've got your playsets after only purchasing this product once. Now, if you're looking to get playsets for CC, on the other hand, you might want to look into buying singles for specific cards that you need, or purchase the product twice, which, let's face it, isn't that bad in hindsight. Plus you get another playmat and a cool box. You can always give the playmat to your friend. I, for one, can't wait to get my hands on this Friday and jam some games with some friends around the table. When they spoiled the cards in the set, I immediately started doing the math for the final act, and trust me, you don't want to underestimate the Bard. I'm definitely trying to play Melody when I sit down to try this out. After Round the Table on Friday, we've got the Bright Lights pre-release on both Saturday and Sunday. I'll be attending 2 local events myself, hoping to get my hands on any Assassin cards I can find in preparation for the new meta. Speaking of Assassin cards, Assassin got 2 treats this set. We got Shriek Razors and Already Dead. Shriek Razors is an Assassin equipment for your arm slot. It blocks for 1, has Battle Worn, and reads, while this is in your graveyard, at the start of your turn, you may destroy 2 silvers you control. If you do, equip this. So the standard Assassin equipment silver text, and like other Assassin equipments, it has an attack reaction effect that is 2 resources. You have to destroy the equipment, and target attack action card defending an Assassin attack gets -1. So it's Shred, more or less. It's -1 Shred, a little worse than blue, but on demand whenever you need it. And I think that this card is going to be great in the Bravo matchup, so I really hope I can get my hands on this sooner rather than later. Now, Already Dead is an interesting card, and probably in a way that you aren't expecting. And that's because a while back, after playing Azuri for a minute, I had determined that she needed one thing. She needed, specifically, a 6-power attack that blocked for 3, that cost 2 or less, but more than likely 2 because that's realistically what it would end up at, that also had Contract. Now, reasons being, obviously 2 costs, like I said, that's where it would end up at, realistically. 3 block because that's what you want as an Azuri player. She really likes to block, and she likes to block well. 6 power because we need as many poppers as we can get our hands on realistically, and we need them to be relevant poppers. We don't need to just be running random 6 power 3 block cards, which we have been doing. And that is for our very unfortunate Illusionist matchup. Now, whether it's going to help or not, TBD, but whatever, we're here. And Contract because honestly, I wish Azuri made more silver. I wish she had a way to actually utilize all the Assassin equipment that she has available to her, which sometimes we're lucky enough to buy back the boots once a game. You know, maybe sometimes you can buy them back more, especially if you're on a contract-focused Azuri. But generally, it's once a game, if that. Now, I'm still a firm believer that Shakedown should make a silver if you successfully banish a card of the color that you name, but that's a different discussion. Regardless, the day that I woke up and Already Dead was spoiled, and it was exactly what I wanted, I lost it. It actually took me like an hour to take in what the contract itself did because I was that over the moon. I didn't even care what the contract did. And turns out the contract's actually awesome. And I'm not just making this up. This is what I wanted for Azuri. These specific things are what I wanted for Azuri, and I've got the receipts to prove it if you need the receipts. I don't know if I mentioned it in older videos or not, but I mean, I've definitely said it before, and I'm thrilled. I'm happy about it, you know? I was starting to feel a little down about Azuri, but this brought me right back up, for sure. But yeah, the card. So Already Dead. It's a red Assassin action attack, costs 2, blocks 3, attacks for 6, and its contract reads, you are contracted to banish opponent's non-action cards. Whenever you complete this contract, create a silver token. When this hits a hero, banish the top card of their deck and a defending card. A defending card. So now not only will your opponents be second guessing whether or not you have a command and conquer and when and how they want to play their defense reactions, if they want to risk it for the biscuit, now they have to think a little more about, do I want to block with equipment? Do I want to risk losing my Grasp of the Arknight? Do I want to risk losing a temper piece that you could have already lost? Do I want to risk losing Scabskin Leathers, Tectonic Plating? There is a bunch of delicious morsels that you can get rid of with this card, and I'm here for it. It didn't need to be this good. It did not need to be this good, James White. Thank you. Only thing that could have made that card better is if it was somehow my preview card. Maybe one day. So yeah, gonna be keeping my eyes peeled for a playset of those this weekend, even though that seems incredibly impossible because there's a decent amount of cards on the expansion list, and with how difficult they are to pull in general, I don't think I'll be seeing 3 of them this weekend. On top of the fact that there are other Assassin players at my locals, so there's going to be some competition, unfortunately. But if I can grab 1 or 2, that'll make me happy. So there is an entire Mechanologist set to discuss, in addition to these awesome Assassin cards and the rest of the cards on the expansion list, which all seem pretty cool in one way or another. And Bright Lights being an all-mech set, it's a Mechanologist player's dream, because Mechanologist hasn't seen strong draft support since its introduction in Arcane Rising. So if any class needed this full set treatment, it was definitely Mech. And they knocked it out of the park. So we've got 3 heroes coming to the classic constructed format with this set, and 3 heroes coming to the Blitz format. And that is -IO and -Database, Max the Hype Nitro and Max Nitro, and Teklovasan Esteem Magnate and Teklovasan. All of these heroes have 4 intellect. Max and Teklovasan have 40 health. Dash has 36 or 18 in her young form. Dash reads, you may look at the top card of your deck at any time. Once per turn, you may play a Mechanologist item with cost 0 or 1 from the top of your deck as though it were an instant. It costs an additional 1 resource to play. Max reads, once per turn action for 2 resources, you can create a Hyperdriver token with 2 Steam counters. Activate this ability only if you've boosted this turn. And Hyperdrivers you control get cranked, which means that as it enters the arena, you may remove a Steam counter from it, and if you do, you gain an action point. So kind of like item boost. Teklovasan reads, you may play Evos from your Banished Zone, and once per turn instant for 3 resources, you may play your next Evo this turn as though it were an instant. When you do, draw a card. Now, for my locals at the very least, I'm sure this has happened elsewhere as well. We had a running joke that Teklovasan was a shadow mech, which, I mean, he feels like a shadow hero, right? He's playing for the Banished Zone. And it turns out that joke aged really well, actually, because Teklovasan's legendary specialization, Singularity, transforms him, his weapon, and 4 Evos he controls into Teklovasan the Mechropotent. And yes, I'm saying Mechropotent because Mechropotent sounds a little weird. I know. The word omnipotence is a thing. It's a magic card as well. But you know what's also a magic card? Necropotence. I am not going to call it Necropotence. That sounds silly. And for the 30 years that I've played Magic, it has been called Necropotence. Now, omnipotence is a real word, so let's split the difference. If it's a real word, we'll pronounce it the way we're supposed to pronounce it. If it's a fantasy card game word, we're going to pronounce it the way that it sounds best. Necropotence. Mechropotent. So, Teklovasan, the Mechropotent. That's my fucking TED Talk. Anyway, Teklovasan, the Mechropotent is a card like none other we've seen before. Not only is it a demi-hero, which this is our second demi-hero after Leviah Redeemed, it is a Shadow Mechanologist demi-hero equipment Evo. So, we're over here just dying the fact that this is a shadow mech. He is actually a shadow mechanologist. You just had to dig a little deeper to figure that out. So with all of your stuff banished at this point, Teklevasan the Mechropotent provides a couple things. First off, he's got 6 power and 6 block. He's got 3 intellect, and he's got star health, which I believe just means that he doesn't have a health that he's going to set you to. You just are going to maintain whatever health you're at. He reads, action for 3 resources. Banish 2 cards from your soul to attack. Pretty good. Whenever this attacks a hero, they discard a card. Okay, we're both playing 3-3 at this point, as far as cards in our hand, I guess. And your Mechanologist attack action cards get go again. You ain't gonna fatigue this time, buddy. He also counts as having 4 Evos equipped and has Battle Worn. So unlike something like the Construct Nitro Mechanoid that has Temper, Teklevasan the Mechropotent has Battle Worn. Now, that's not going to save him from an ill-timed block on something like Already Dead, or Buckle, or a couple other things. So you need to know what hero you're playing into and what they're capable of, because you don't want to just be blocking all willy-nilly with this guy. Not in some matchups. And I'm pretty sure Brian Gottlieb is on the record saying that some of the better Teklevasan decks in testing were not Singularity decks. So while this is gimmicky, it actually does seem like it's something you could feasibly accomplish, but it's probably not something you want to do in every matchup. And aside from that, you also aren't going to have any Arcane Barrier, which is something that a buddy of mine realized yesterday. He's just playing Rune Blades into a bunch of Teklevasans, and they're all just like, oh, okay, I'm just going to eat all this Rune Chant damage, I guess. Yep. Alright, and I'm dead. So, yep. The next thing I was going to talk about was the cards they were missing at the time of recording. And that was 1 Legendary Mech Equipment, 1 Inset Majestic, and 1 Majestic from the expansion list. And this sucks because it got confirmed. But my theory was that the missing Legendary was going to be Teklo Foundry Heart. And my logic was that there was a spot open between Hyper X3 and Adaptive Plating, which are both Mechanologist Legendary Equipment, which means we are getting a Legendary Mechanologist Equipment. But they're not spaced out alphabetically, and I can only assume that's because Adaptive Plating is specifically a Mechanologist Equipment and does not read a specific slot. So that is probably counted outside of the other Mechanologist Equipment, which do have an assigned slot. And considering T comes after H and there was a slot there, I figured, you know, we're getting 3 new Mechanologist heroes in the set. Teklo Foundry Heart makes the most sense. This is probably just going to be a non-foil Teklo Foundry Heart reprint. And I was like, man, I really hope I can get this video done and edited and posted before this gets spoiled. And about 10 minutes into recording this, it got posted on my Discord. So, surprise if it wasn't put out there yet. The missing Legendary, the final Legendary of the set, is Teklo Foundry Heart non-foil. Which is good. It's great. We're getting 3 new mechs this set. We're going to need more of those in the wild. So, kind of sucks that I couldn't get it out there, but hey, it is what it is. Another line of reasoning that I had was the last time they didn't spoil a Legendary card was Crown of Providence. It was a reprint, so I kind of put 2 and 2 together, thought this might also be a reprint. A local of mine did point out the fact that Flamescale Furnace wasn't spoiled either, and I did look back and didn't find that on any of the spoiler lists, so maybe I could have been wrong there, but I still thought the odds seemed pretty good for it to be Teklo Foundry Heart, and lo and behold, it is. So, great, everybody wins. Moving on, sadly, I won't be doing any openings for this set, at least no box openings, no case openings. I will do my best to try and save prize packs from this weekend to open in a video to make up for it, but as of right now, I'm only buying a single box that will go in my collection, so just gonna buy that box, throw it in acrylic, throw it on my wall. But we'll see how much peer pressure there is for me to open my prize packs this weekend at the events. It's gonna be hard to fight that itch. But yeah, that's about it. So for the World Championships this year, we're going to have 3 fairly new heroes, and more than likely a Lexi-free format that will have only existed for 10 days prior. I think it goes without saying that the World Championship weekend is going to be hella exciting, especially with the Living Legend event. And that being said, I'm looking forward to the pre-release and the release of Round the Table this weekend, and I'm really looking forward to playing Azuri in ProQuest with the addition of Already Dead and Shriek Razors. So, until next time, stay safe, enjoy your pre-release weekend, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.
Shout out to the Ravenous Babble patrons who keep the channel going. If you would like to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/Ravenous Babble and see which tier is best suited for you.